commend the team for putting in the effort to ensure that there's progress. But we're still encouraging them to speed things up because the project will close in June 2025. Hopeful that the team is very dynamic, the team is very strong, and so we know with our support in the background that they'll be able to meet the project goals by the time it ends.
The second World Bank team granted audience with Vice President Badara Diouf, discussed with him the relations between the World Bank and the government. Nathan Bellit is the World Bank country rep.
We had a very fruitful exchange on number one, the key priority areas of intervention and cooperation between the World Bank and the Gambia, most notably in sectors such as tourism, such as agriculture, such as infrastructure and energy, as well as on social protection, among others.
Belli said the World Bank is aware that microeconomic stability is critical for the Gambia and praised the government for the remarkable efforts shown in that direction.
The second issue we discussed, obviously, was the impacts of the crisis in Ukraine. The impacts are very real and tangible to people in the Gambia, the poor and vulnerable in the Gambia. We see what is happening with food prices. We see what's happening in fuel prices. And in this regard, we want to do whatever we can from the World Bank's perspective to help minimize the impact, particularly on the poor and vulnerable in the Gambia. So we discussed a couple of concrete measures, including new and additional financing that we would be willing to quickly mobilize in support of these actions.
At the State House on Friday, the World Bank also disclosed the next 3-year engagement with the Gambia with the Vice President.
We have approximately $330 million of new financing that will be available to the Gambia starting on July 1. We are in discussions about what are the priority areas for these investments, and we'll continue to work closely with the Minister of Finance as our primary interlocutor in the Gambia, as well as all the other authorities.
Left satisfied, the World Bank personnel said the Vice President was gracious and supportive to the bank in their discussions, but pointed out the importance of investing more in agriculture and social protection. Louis Mendy, GRTS.
The Gambia Ports Authority has presented a check for its 2020 dividend payment to the Ministry of Finance. The ceremony, attended by senior staff of GPA and Ministry of Finance, witnessed the presentation of a check for $95 million to the custodians of the National Treasury. Janke Ture has the rest of that story.
The Gambia Port Authority, GPA, has paid an amount of $95 million as a dividend to the government of the Gambia through the Ministry of Finance and Economic Affairs. The dividend, according to GPA's officials, is giving back to government a return of their investment.
To be here to hand in the GPA's dividend payment for yet another successful year of operations to the GPA's main shareholder, for that is the government. But that is the third in as many years since this management and board assumed stewardship and oversight responsibility of the authority. During the past 3 years, the fourth dividend payment of $20 million was increased by more than 100% to $50 million for the year 2019. And now, for the year 2020, as the PS has just said, paying $95 million, is an increase of more than 90%.
Demba Gay, Vice Chair of GPA's Board of Directors, said the efficiency of the port has significantly improved, commending the institution for their determination, teamwork and commitment to the work, while assuring that GPA will continue to work with government to achieve its desired goals.
For all these achievements, well, we need hardly emphasize that the past years were not without their own challenges, due both to the internal and other extraneous factors, coupled with forming subsidiary companies, such as the ferry services. Equally challenging is the efforts being made towards the realization of expansion of the port container storage and berthing facilities.
Syndicated the finance minister, whilst receiving the check, commended GPA for the efforts, noting that the payment demonstrates GPA's commitment to national development.
These mark a steady increase of more than 90% from the previous dividend payment of 50 million for the year 2019. The payment of a dividend is a accumulation of the profitable year ended 2020, and the Gambia Ports Authority being the anchor parastatal and very vital to the nation's economic infrastructure is a very important institution for the government. And we are delighted to receive a dividend payment. However, we believe, given the strategic role of the ports and its centrality to the entire economic system, we applaud the board of directors and the management for a stellar performance. Notwithstanding, we as government, being the key investor in the enterprise, look forward to the board and the management to continue the good work that they have been doing, and we look forward to them doing more.
An increment in surplus to over 90%. GPA's officials said they are expected to deliver more. Jean Keture, GRTS News.
Still on economic matters, because the Institute of Bankers of the Gambia on Friday convened a day-long capacity building session on professionalism and ethical standards in banking. The training was attended by participants from different banks and other institutions in the country. Ibrahim Ajalo.
This is a professional gathering designed to promote professionalism and ethical standards in the banking industry for better service delivery. The Chief Executive Officer of Standard Chartered Banks, Chooks Uga, informed participants about the importance of building confidence to set the pace for banking institutions. Ethical behavior is the driving force in this regard.
Confidence is the foundation on which the banking industry is built on. Trust helps you build confidence. And how do you build this trust and confidence? If somebody keeps money in a bank, you have to behave the way they expect you to behave.
Njilan Senghor, the Managing Director of Trust Bank, was one of the resource persons of this interactive session. She said moral and ethical behaviors reflect on the image of institutions, citing honesty, integrity, transparency, and responsibility.
This is what I call lessons in moral conscience. Your different banks can have all the policies and procedures in place, but there are these small and little things that you do that will compromise the bank's standards. It will give the bank a bad name, not because the bank told you to do it, but because you have done it for your own self-interest. And then it has huge ramifications on the bank.
Regular training for chartered bankers is here to be crucial in maintaining standards. Bernard J. Mane, the Registrar of the Institute of Bankers of the Gambia, explains the essence of this training in view of the task at hand.
The essence of this training is really, as the name indicates, is a continuous professional development training. And it is aimed at really building capacity for our chartered bankers. All the participants in the program here are all chartered bankers. These are people who have successfully completed the chartered banking program and are now working in their banks. And it is really the mandate of the Institute to ensure that these people who are already qualified to be trained regularly.
Participants applauded the Bankers Institute for the knowledge sharing initiative, saying it is important.
Ethical and professional relationship in the various institutions is very relevant. As we know, most of the ethical issues, if not confronted at the right time, would always cause failures in our institutions, that is financial institutions and non-financial institutions.
The training is very, very vital as a banker, and also not only as a banker, as a human being, you have to present yourself. The training is about ethics. You know, as a human being, you have to get good ethical background. You know how anywhere you go, know how to present yourself.
get the good norms and values, you understand, respect yourself. As a banker too, you have to get how to present yourself, because it's the people that trusted you to give you money. Then if you don't have that trust that you portray to them, they will not have that trust also to bring their funds to you.
This is said to be a continuous professional development program to be convened annually. Ibrahim Jallo, GRTS News.
After participating in this year's West African Seasonal Prediction Forum, Department of Water Resources, in partnership with meteorologists and climate experts, supported by the United Nations Food and Agriculture Organization (FAO), convened a day's information and data sharing forum on predictions on outlook for the country's rainfall pattern for July, August, and September 2022. The report presented by meteorologists predicted that the country will receive above normal rainfall for this year's season. Let's take a listen to this excerpt prepared by Usman Mane.
200 farmers, including depots presidents across the country, gathered at the Gino Agricultural.
For the coming July, August, and September period, considerable variations in the amount of rainfall in the various parts of the country are expected. The rainfall amount over the country is predicted very likely to be above average, to likely average rainfall for the period July, August, and September over the Gambia. The interpretation of that means the country's average is expected to have rainfall quantity of equal to or more than 1,000 millimeters in the western sectors of the country, and between 700 and 900 millimeters over the rest of the country. The predicted 2022 rainfall value would therefore be above normal over large areas of our country, the Gambia. The latest figures indicate a 42% chance of above normal rainfall, 35% chance of near normal rainfall, and 20% chance for below normal rainfall. If you put this in simple terms, it means that the chance of having above normal rainfall is higher than the chance of having a normal rainfall. Furthermore, it is worthy of note that the 2022 rainfall season is expected to undergo more variability than the previous session, which is the 2021 session, with events such as early to normal onset, late or normal withdrawal of rains, and short to average dry spells. Accordingly, this department will undertake to provide weekly climate and short to medium range weather forecasts to better anticipate impact of intra-seasonal climate events. Beginning of the farming season, which is called onset. In an agrarian economy like ours in the Gambia, where rain-fed agriculture is predominant, rainfall onset for the commencement of farming season is crucial. It affects establishment of crops, agricultural production, and subsequently our national economy. Failure in the timely establishment of rainfall onset usually affects farmers. It is essential that therefore, after a given date, the rain will become fairly continuous and sufficient to provide adequate soil moisture for and after planting is maintained as the season advances for successful establishments of crops. In 2020, the Gambia is expected to see a rainfall onset between the 12th and 18th of June. These days are expected to be generally early by up to 2 weeks over large parts of the country. Therefore, judicious use of this prediction in planning agricultural activities will lead to safe sowing and enhanced crop production and food production. This information should be widely available to extension services and agencies that have the responsibility of advising farmers on appropriate time of planting and varieties to be planted. Longer than normal length of season is predicted for most parts of the country. It is expected to be in the range of 120 to 130. Short to medium dry season sequences are expected at the start of the rainy season in most parts of the country.
Well, that was Mr. Ismail Adanso, the Deputy Permanent Secretary, Technical, Minister of Fisheries and Water Resources. Moving on, training on horticulture and food processing for beneficiaries of the EU-funded TechIFI project implemented by IMVF has ended in Cambridge West Coast region. The 10-day capacity building brought together youth from West Coast, Central, Lower River and North Bank regions. Alajimbai has the details.
The training, attended by 18 participants, is part of the implementation of an EU-funded project dubbed TechIFI, meaning building a future successful in the Gambia. It aims to contribute to the socio-economic development of the country with focus on employment and revenue generation for vulnerable groups. The coordinator of the IMVF TechIFI project, Joanna Martins, said the project aims to create opportunities for young people to succeed in the Gambia.
We came to understand that business coaching was key if the grant was to be successful, but also it was important to improve the skills, the knowledge about your specific trade areas. So this idea that we indeed are strengthening the entrepreneurship, the rural agro-entrepreneurs of the country, for us is also very dear, right? Because we are certain that there are so many opportunities up country for you to tackle that will support you in your businesses, but also overall strengthen the agro-private sector in the country.
The Director of Services at GHE Group, Hadi Sise, discussed the importance and components of the capacity building program.
Agriculture has evolved to agribusiness now. So whatever activity you engage in agriculture, it is important for you to be equipped with business skills. Because at the end of the day, you're supposed to run the activity as a business for you to improve your lives and livelihood. So the goal was for them to be trained on good agricultural practices. For the agro-food processing, the beneficiaries were trained on good hygiene and manufacturing practices, also on processing techniques.
The agribusiness assistant at IMVF, Susan Jata, advises participants to promote networking to improve access to markets for their products.
In the coming 5 years, we will be seeing you elsewhere because at the end of the day, the project's aim and objective is all about it. We want to create the enabling environment for young people in the agribusiness sector to ensure that you are not only able to provide jobs for yourself, but create the same opportunity for other members of your community.
Participant Seni Jawara thanked the organizers for the initiative. He said in addition to the grant, such trainings will help improve their businesses as well as their economic status.
IMVF, is an institution that is definitely very helpful to, the Gambian youth. The justification to this is the grants that they have been, giving out to the youth, from the mini grant to the agro grant. Most of us, are beneficiaries of, the agro grant, and also the mini grant. And this grant has definitely, changed our lives so much.
Participants were awarded certificates at the end of the training. Alajimbai, GRTS News.
The Ministry of Agriculture, in partnership with National Food Security Processing and Marketing Corporation, organized a day's stakeholders forum with groundnut, cashew, and cereal value chain farmers in Genoa Lower River region. The forum is aimed at charting way forward to address challenges of farmers in the country. Usman Balde has the details.
200 farmers, including depots presidents across the country, gathered at the Genoa Agricultural Center to discuss issues affecting the farming industry as well as map out a way forward on how to address challenges, especially in the area. Mohamed Jai is the Managing Director of National Food Security Processing and Marketing Corporation.
Fertilizer is one component that will actually help improve food security. So the government of the Gambia actually procured through GGC 20,000 metric tons last year. But we all knew that because of the scarcity globally, other countries were coming in to buy our own fertilizers. So that actually created a lot of pressure from our own farmers here. So the distribution model, that's what we try to discuss with them. And mainly this year, we intend to channel the fertilizers through the cooperative primary marketing societies, because they have a direct linkage with the farmers, but they will have that oversight from the CFOs and the governors at the regional level.
Speaking on behalf of the farmers, Tukune Fofana from Bajakunda in the Upper River region lamented that farmers have faced a lot of challenges in the past farming season. He used the opportunity to call on government to support farmers.
Yo bari nga ñaatiri ñi engrais ko menna kacal be kéré bari comme ndelu yekumo meni moy ndol jabi no la folo because itel mo dante ndelu ye folo wala mo engrais ñi napiriti e ma fe fo ñewoto folo yo ngam moy nak be siri be la moy kam ngalu ne ñina ay ko be engrais di la damena ko leatale ndel be senegal nda sanno la wala natara wala mo toñati bari malon folo nak because ma fo folo.
The paramount chief of the Gambia, Mamadou Elke Bojan, described the various challenges as unfortunate and believed that authorities will address the concerns as soon as possible.
The poor farmer could not have his money, and he do work completely 5 to 6 months and harvest his crops and brought it to you. So what offense has he committed? He commit no offense. You, the supplier or paymaster, should face a punishment. They should pay these people immediately after this matter is proved.
Officials of the National Food Security Processing and Marketing Corporation reaffirmed their commitment to address the problems raised by farmers in due course. Usman Balde, GRTS News.
While still at the countryside, because officials of the Rice Value Chain Transformative Project wrapped up a 3-day field visit in the Central River Region South. The tour, as Modulamin Sane reports, was meant to assess dry season rice production in the area.
A false gun launched for the first time in the Sambelkunda cluster rice field. This machine, courtesy of the Rice Value Chain Transformation Project, is meant to scare animals intruding these rice fields. Proper fencing is one of the greatest challenges for farmers in this part of the Central River Region South, as well as silted canals, as officials galvanize efforts to improve production.
You look at all these farmers that we have supported, and this goes with a complementary fertilizer. Of all these areas that we have supported, so far we have distributed about 1,900 bags of NPK and 824 bags of urea. Okay, the project, as part of our mandate, we also working with private sectors, because the whole agenda or all the idea of rice value chain transformation is to change the paradigm from subsistence farming to a more commercialized farming. So far we are working with 3 private sectors.
Damages caused by the hippos are felt and can be seen everywhere on this rice field. Farmers say this is not the first time. We are always disturbed by animals in every production season, until now that the project brought a machine that can send them away. Some time back, we stopped producing rice for almost 2 years because of the massive destruction caused by the animals. Project officials also traveled to Jahari rice fields, inspecting work and performance during the dry season production. Here the project is also supporting the Rice Growers Association with farm inputs and techniques.
We have to fix the gates, resize the canals, and if possible, we line them. If we line the canals, we'll be able to reduce the impact of erosion. We'll be able to reduce being occupied by weeds and shrubs to block water. If we're able to fix that, farmers will be able to control and manage water efficiently and effectively. And that way, we'll be able to get to a production cycle. Now we have handled one of the issues. That's the technology in terms of seeds. We provided seeds that we think and we believe and they are proven right to be able to help the farmer to have two production cycles.
As the field visit ends, project implementers are expected to continue this support as they move to increase production and productivity. Mudlamin Sane reporting for GRTS News from the Central River region.
Lamin Sane takes us to our first break. The news returns in a moment. Do stay.
Oh, there's a new update from your favorite GSM operator, AfriCell.
For all of you that have struggled to buy cash power beyond $7,000, AfriCell has done it again. The limit to buy cash power is now up to $30,000. Oh yes, $30,000.
Buy all the cash power you want from your AfriMoney account by dialing *777#.
Where AfriCell goes, nobody dares to follow.
It's an amazing offer. AfriMoney just got way better. The threshold for cash in and cash out on your AfriMoney has been increased.
Where it used to be $10,000 per transaction, now it has been increased to $30,000. Meaning, your AfriMoney account, you can now withdraw and deposit up to $30,000 at once.
Cashing in and out just got 3 times easier. For more info, call 777.
Where AfriCell goes, nobody dares to follow.
Rwanda is expecting the first batch of asylum seekers from the UK at the end of this month after the signing of an agreement between the two countries. Details in this report.
Agreement between the United Kingdom and Rwanda in April to send migrants and asylum seekers to Kigali has attracted criticism. The plans, though, are underway, with the first batch of asylum seekers expected in Rwanda soon.
Rwanda agreed because, one, a solution must be found to this long-standing problem. It is a problem that takes people's lives by crossing the desert, drowning in the Mediterranean Sea, and becoming a victim of human trafficking. So we have to find a solution. And then we have an experience of welcoming refugees, and we Rwandans have also experienced this situation of being a refugee. So if there's a way to solve this problem by saving lives, I don't think Rwanda could not accept.
The arrangement will see the British government sending anyone entering the UK illegally, as well as those who have arrived illegally since January the 1st, to Rwanda.
The first migrants could arrive by the end of the month, but actually it's the British government that has this information because the people who are on the English territory are the ones who will know how many will come and when they will come. But if everything goes well, in principle, by the end of the month, we will receive the first migrants.
Mukurarinda, however, says the migrants will be treated with dignity.
They will not be locked up. They will be in the sites you have visited. They'll be able to leave and enter. At some point, once their status has been fixed, they will have to go and live with other Rwandans, but they will be free. They will not be prisoners.
Britain says the plan to send people to Rwanda would cost an estimated $158 million. Last year, more than 28,000 migrants and refugees made the crossing from mainland Europe to Britain on rickety boats. Jane Kale, CGTN.
An interesting development there. Well, elsewhere, South Africa's sugar industry suffered an estimated $14 million in damages after recent flooding. Last month, heavy rains caused widespread destruction across KwaZulu-Natal province, the hub of South Africa's sugar industry. Sumit Ranido visited the province recently and filed in this report.
South Africa produces close to 19 million tons of sugar annually. 80% of this sugar is produced in KwaZulu-Natal. However, the province has been hard hit in the last year. Rioting in July 2021 destroyed key infrastructure and crops. 9 months later, heavy rains caused flood damage across the province.
We just recovered from the unrest last year, which saw 550,000 tons of sugarcane burned in arson fires. Of which 135,000 tons were completely destroyed and lost revenue. So it came when we were still really recovering from that, and to see 2,500 hectares being absolutely wiped out by this flood was heartbreaking.
Pritish Sharma, a sugarcane farmer in Ilembe, north of Durban, is worried about his crops. Hundreds of hectares of sugarcane were damaged and destroyed.
What happens when you have prolonged periods of rain? The ground below the sugarcane gets so wet, it actually starts to become loose. And when that soil loosens up around the roots, the sugarcane doesn't have the strength from the root to hold itself upright anymore. And then what happens is the cane starts to grow upwards again. Okay. So the cane then takes a bend, it turns. So that makes it difficult to handle and increases the cost to actually harvest it.
With this road washed away, farmers can't actually get to some of their sugarcane fields. And within these fields, there are some crops that have been prepared for harvesting. And if the farmers don't get there within the next 6 weeks, all of that sugarcane will start deteriorating.
Now that cane's ripened, so when something is ripe, it reaches a certain point of ripeness, and then it actually dies. Yeah. And when it reaches that point, it starts to rot. So if we are unable to repair our roads to access the field, we can't harvest that cane before it rots. So that field there, I say we got 6 weeks to get rid of it, otherwise it's going to go to waste. We must have these roads repaired, because this road is damaged. We have a road on the other end which is also damaged. So there is no access to these fields without repairing these roads.
It's been a hard time for the farmers. We focused on the on-farm damage, and what we can see from the crop is about 200 million rand of crop damage directly related to the flood, and then another 28 or so million of on-farm infrastructure that was damaged.
Most of the rain has dried up but has left a trail of destruction. In the meantime, government has suspended an increase in the sugar tax for 1 year, giving the industry a chance to regain its footing. Sumitra Nadu, CGTN, KwaZulu-Natal, South Africa.
Our main points once again. The World Bank Country Director Nathan Billit disclosed that his agency has approved $330 million aid for the Gambia in the next 3 years. Communicating for life-saving actions, climate experts have shared predictions on the country's 2022 rainfall pattern. Plus, the Gambia Ports Authority presented a check for $95 million as its 2020 dividend payment to the government of the Gambia. In the internationals, Rwanda is expecting the first batch of asylum seekers from the UK at the end of this month after the signing of an agreement between the two countries. Elsewhere, South Africa's sugar industry suffered an estimated $14 million in damages after recent flooding. Well, do join me again for more news on updates in the 2022 2000 hours news bulletins rather. Until then, I am Aissatou Keita and thanks for watching.
What keeps us connected? Is it the memories we share? Is it the pictures we take every single morning? Is it the bond that binds us? Is it the time we spend together? Is it sharing the same dream or the same life? The secret is there's deep connection between us. Keep it real. Stay connected.